Welcome to Weekday Somatics. Okay, so let's begin. If you're able to sit today, then that would be excellent. If you're not able to sit without strain, or if you don't have confidence in your ability to sit, then choose a different posture that's gentle and nurturing for you. That's always the most important thing, that you are able to perceive and receive the support that's here, because that support is really what is doing all of the work. Work, our work is to surrender to that. And surrender is such a loaded word, I think, because many of us have an idea, well, we're operating from fear. We're so conditioned to function from fear that we actually don't know ourselves apart from that fear. And so even the word surrender can and does provoke that fear. So I want to be really clear that the surrender that I'm talking about is it is not coming from fear. It is coming from a deep knowing beyond the mind. It's coming from faith that is anchored and grounded in a transcendent reality, one that is greater than our mind, but that includes our mind and can heal our minds. So the surrender is to receive that support. It's not to be endlessly ungrounded in turbulent fear. It's the opposite of that. It's to be profoundly grounded in faith and trust and knowing, and a certainty about the support that is actually literally truly here. So we start from a posture, whatever that may be. And I've suggested that if you're able to confidently sit upright, then that would be an excellent choice for today. But again, it's important that you choose a posture that you have confidence in, so that you are able to receive that support. And again, that's the most important thing. So don't think that just because I've suggested that sitting would be excellent today, that means that it's necessary, or that you cannot benefit, or that you won't benefit greatly or equally to anybody else if you're not confident in your ability to sit. And in fact, you can trust and know that, as is always true, that you're in exactly the right place at exactly the right time, with the right people, having the right experience. And that doesn't mean that you must conform to whatever your perception may be of what expectations, external expectations there might be, and certainly not your internal expectations, which are really just borrowed expectations. So it's all external expectations. So you see, it's just a simple thing like what will I be sitting or will I be lying down? It turns out to be, as I often say, it's the whole of it. It's the microcosm, and the microcosm and the macrocosm are one. Okay, so we'll actually explore that now with an invocation. How is it possible that this microcosm and the macrocosm could be one? So for all of us here, I recognize and acknowledge that there is truly one power and one presence in all of creation and beyond. And that same power that shines the stars is the same power that beats my heart, beats every heart. And that one power is in and as and through all that is. And that one presence is the very same presence that is the witness of each of our experiences. And that presence and that power are not two, but they are one. And each of us is intimately supported as and in that oneness. And so from this recognition, I claim for each of us here that this is good, that our lives are good, that we are in the correct place. We're having the correct experience. And I invite each of us to open more to that truth and an intimate moment to moment recognition of that in our lives in every way, so that it can uplift us, encourage us, empower us, and carry us. So it is. So let's begin with let's next explore some movement. And I'm going to take my headphones off. I don't really need them most of the time, but just in case somebody wanted to talk, I keep them on. But I'm going to take them off for this part because I'm going to invite us to do something where we're going to touch our ears. So first of all, before we actually touch the ears, just be present in the body. Whether your eyes are open or closed, either way is fine. But be present in the body, to the bodily experience, to the felt experience, to the somatic experience. Be aware of the contact of your body with the surface that you're on, and recognize that you are literally in contact with that support. And so you can notice by directing your attention right now that support is a real experience. So however you perceive it, just perceive and trust and know that that is correct. And if your mind is doubting, that's fine. Your mind can't negate the reality of support, try as it might. And that's really good news. And that's actually very essential news. So let that in, that this support cannot be negated by your mind. It cannot be negated even by your greatest efforts. This support is always true. So beyond whatever doubts or fears or anxieties you might have, any concerns that you're not doing it right, that you're not keeping up, that other people are having a better experience, that you'll never make it, whatever concerns can arise, just know that they cannot actually touch or harm or in any way negate the fundamental reality of this support. This support is primary. It's actually before you. So everything that you consider to be yourself, everything that you cling to, everything you identify with or as, all of your virtues and all of your flaws, everything is fundamentally resting upon and dependent upon the support. Nothing functions without the support. The support is primary. And so it's, again, very essential to recognize that this support does not depend upon you. So you cannot harm it. And you can really deeply surrender in this moment to this support beyond your mind, beyond your expectations, beyond any idea of what that should be like. So surrender all of your ideas so much that you that you begin to dissolve all of the false barriers to the direct perception of this support, and you start to become clearer on the reality of the support beyond your feelings, beyond your sensation, beyond your ideas, beyond your expectations, that it actually is here. It actually is supporting you. It is this ground that you are supported by. It is the air that supports you. It is the light that supports you. It is everything. There is no possible escape from it. You are supported everywhere, always, no matter what. And then let's take a moment to actually anchor ourselves consciously in that support as it shows up in our Mother Earth. So here we are, supported always, ceaselessly by our Mother Earth. And let's acknowledge that. So again, bring your awareness to that connection, that contact of your body with the surface that you're on, and then become aware of that connection all the way down to the ground. So if you're inside, you can just perceive that connection traveling through the floor, down to the ground, and then into the ground. And you don't have to invent this, or you don't have to imagine it. You don't have to do anything other than just have the intention. And it doesn't matter what your experience is, your intention is enough. So if you just intend, then you can know that you're doing it perfectly. So don't be concerned about whether you're having the right feelings or the right sensations or anything. Just intend. And know that what your intention does is it aligns you with this reality. So you're not inventing your connection. You are simply acknowledging and aligning yourself with that reality. So intend and perceive that connection all the way down into the ground, down, 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 all the way to the very core of the earth. And allow for your awareness or your perception or your intention of that connection to expand, so that you really begin to have a sense of just how connected you are, that it's not a tenuous connection. It's a very, very stable connection. So it's not like you're tethered by a thread. You're connected by this enormous rope, cable of very thick root all the way to the core of the earth. And feel that and perceive that and open to that. So allow for that connection to be open and flowing. And notice how your intention does produce real, felt, perceivable shifts in your experience. So this intention to open is very powerful. Most of us have lived, we've been squeezing so that it's like a hose that we've been kinking because of all of that tension, that squeezing, that fear, that anxiety, that sense that we're not enough, that life's not enough, all of this falseness that we've believed, and we squeeze and squeeze and squeeze, and then we say, see, look, I'm cut off. But your intention can completely reverse that in an instant. So allow for a softening, a release, an opening, a surrender downward through your connection to the earth, and know and trust that it is good, that your earth provides you with the nourishment and the stability and the abundance that is entirely good, entirely nourishing, entirely supportive. There is nothing that you need to fear from this connection. This connection is only good. It only provides goodness. It only provides stability. It only provides love. It only provides nourishment. Nothing bad can come through it. And you can recognize that this is a two-way connection. So allow consciously a surrender of all that is excessive, unnecessary, painful, distressing, overwhelming. Just surrender that, release that downward through this connection, through this root, all the way to the core of the earth. And again, just know that your intention is enough. You don't have to have a particular experience. You might think nothing's happening. You might think I'm doing it wrong. You might think I should be having another experience, but none of that is true. Just know that it is working. And in time, it may be minutes or days or weeks, but in time, you will begin to perceive it more and more clearly because it's a real experience. And when you place your attention on it consistently, your clarity of perception increases. So just trust and intend to release all that is overwhelming. So just gently scan in your somatic awareness for any unnecessary effort, any discomfort, any congestion, any pinching, any strain, any armoring. And just know that that's something that you don't know how to deal with. It's overwhelming to you, it's painful to you, and you can surrender that and release that to the earth now. And know that the earth is joyfully receptive and grateful for your offerings. So make it an offering. Do not fear, just offer in gratitude, knowing that the earth gratefully receives and transforms everything into her nature, which is fertility, abundance, harmony, nurturance, goodness. And then again, recognize that it's a two-way connection. So open also to receive from the earth. And notice that the quality of the energy that you receive from the earth is different than the quality of the energy that you offer to the earth, because you are offering destabilized energy. And she returns to you stability, groundedness. And for many of us, we fear that because we fear that it will get us stuck somehow. But open to it and know and trust that it's only good. That this stability is a stability of goodness. It's a stability of support. And that the more we are rooted, the more confidently we can reach. The more confidently we can attain. The more rooted we are, the more nourishment we receive, and the more we can grow, the more we can flower, the more we can shine that light into this world. Okay, now become aware of your breath and allow for your awareness of the breath to complement your awareness of this connection with the earth, so that it doesn't overshadow the connection with the earth, but instead your awareness of the connection with the earth and your awareness of the breath complement one another, augment one another, so that together they help you to achieve expansion and stability. So we're just observing the natural breath, not forcing anything, not counting, not trying to extend the breath, not trying to breathe in a particular way. Just be aware. And as you are aware, be aware of any habits of unnatural or unnecessary restraint, restriction, tension, laboring, straining, or turning the breath at artificial points so that the breath becomes unsatisfying. Instead, we want to allow for all of those things to be dissolved in the light of awareness so that our breath, our natural breath, becomes satisfying, gentle, pleasurable, and naturally elongated without any attempt on our part to elongate it. So truly, our bodies have the intelligence to breathe in the perfect way that brings great nourishment and energy and love to the body. And not only to the body, but at subtler levels of our experience as well. And the only thing that interferes with that is our habitual indulgence of fearful reactivity, most of which is completely unconscious. So through awareness, that begins to dissolve. So a few more breaths, just be aware, let it all be very gentle. You'll be amazed, really, at just how gentle and subtle and yet pleasurable and absolutely fulfilling and satisfying the natural breath can be. And observe also as you're taking one or two more breaths, begin to observe the sensations that you become aware of. And you don't need to have any particular experience. It's not about one experience being better or more important than another, but it's just to observe, just to notice what's different now from a few moments ago. What are you experiencing? Do you experience any vibration, any pulsation, tingling, warmth, heaviness, lightness, whatever you might experience, just notice that. Okay, now if it's appropriate for you and you're comfortable doing so, we're going to do something a little interesting. I think it's a little interesting. Take your hands and bring them to the ears, and bring your index finger just inside the ear, not poking into the ear canal, but in the area. Uh, how do I describe this? Just at the inside, just above the earlobe. So just, there's a little thing that sticks up there. Just stick the finger in, and then bring the thumb underneath and behind, and like you're gonna do this, but with the ear in between. So you're just gently pinching. There's some cartilage there. And we're going to do that with both ears, which in and of itself is an exploration. How do I relax my body when doing this. So let's take a moment once you've done this to let the shoulders be relaxed and let the neck be supple and upright without strain. So don't allow yourself to collapse because you're holding the ears, but don't be rigid either. Just let everything be supple. So every move, every new position highlights something, some habit of ours. And we can notice the habit, right? We can notice the components of that habit. So I talk about constellations. Your habits are constellations. So there's a physical component, right? If I have a tendency to do this when I'm in this posture, I have a tendency to kind of collapse. I notice that. Or if I have a tendency to do that, I notice that. And if I have a tendency to hold the breath, I notice that. And then correspondingly, or at the same time, I can become aware of any thoughts. So just notice those thoughts. Notice, because it's really informative to notice when I do this, and for example, I'm noticing, okay, if I do this, I have a habit of kind of wanting to do something with my shoulders, okay? So then I notice, okay, there's some strain in the shoulders. And when there's some strain in the shoulders, simultaneously, I'm noticing some thoughts. Now, those thoughts are a little bit subtle, but I can tune into them. And the thoughts are something, they're like, I don't know how much longer I can do this. This is hard. Or I feel frustrated. That's a thought. Or I feel impatient, irritable. Okay. So just notice those kinds of thoughts. And then also any images or memories that can surface. And if we just are willing to be as gentle as possible and to release all that's unnecessary and to be really honest, right? Because honesty sometimes means, you know what, I need to take a break. This is actually too much. I don't know how to do this well. And that's really important to acknowledge. I don't know how to do this well. I need to take a break. I need to take a step back. I need to simplify. So maybe you need to take a break. Maybe you need to just do one ear. Okay. Maybe you need to just imagine it. Maybe you need to take a nap. Learning to self-care is really, really important, because if you won't do it, who will? And you're important. It's a really difficult lesson for a lot of us, but it's a really, really important one. You're important. You you deserve that care, and you're the one who needs to provide that for yourself. Okay, so for those who are able to do so, now we're going to do, this will be if this wasn't interesting enough to begin with, now we're going to make it really interesting, okay? So continuing to hold the ears in this way, become aware of, so the jaw connects in with the ears and the skull in this area where the fingers are. And so now we're going to do some things with the jaw and also with some sound. Well, we'll start with just the and the lips. Okay, I'll walk you through it. So the first thing we want to do is we want to purse the lips like we were making the sound ooh. So, and then we're going to uh, move like we're smiling and like we're saying the sound E. And we're going to go back and forth between those uh, two movements. Okay, so slowly, as slowly and smoothly as possible while holding the ears. Okay. And breathing. Okay, and then let's rest. Let's rest. That was a lot. So let your hands come down. And if you're comfortable closing the eyes, close the eyes just to tune into the sensation. And really notice how maybe surprisingly, how big of a change has just come about. Okay, so the tendency is for us to uh, skip over that. We're constantly wanting to do something, but here we're intentionally resting. So avoid indulging the tempting habit of making adjustments, trying to get back to your habitual, normal state. So this should be new, should be different, somewhat unusual, and your brain is going to tell you this is not so comfortable. I'm not so sure about this. But what we're doing is we're remaining present to the experience, not adjusting, not indulging our habits, and just releasing and surrendering. So we're not making shifts, we're not moving, but we may be moved. Okay, so we may be moved through a surrender, through release. So just allow a release. Just keep releasing, keep surrendering, keep letting go. Be aware of that connection to the earth. Be aware of how you're producing the subtle or maybe not so subtle straining. Let the chest be soft. Let the abdomen be soft. Let your breathing be gentle and natural and satisfying and pleasurable so that your whole torso becomes supple and you can really allow for your entire head and neck and jaw to surrender more and more to this newness. Okay, now let's bring the hands back and see if you can do that in a very smooth way without it being disruptive. Okay, so we're going to bring the hands. It's very challenging if you're wearing 6 layers. Okay, so we're going to bring the hands back to that same thing with the ears. And again, take a moment just to be as comfortable and at ease and surrendered in this posture as you can be. And then we're going to do the same thing again, but this time we're actually going to make the sounds. And this is a really interesting experience. Okay. So says me. I hope that you find it to be a really interesting and valuable experience. Very informative. Okay. So just as simple as we're going to make an ooh and then e. So I'll do it along with you, or I'll do it a few times and then I'll shut up so you can do it at your own pace. Okay. But I'll do it so that you have an idea of what I'm talking about. Ooh, okay, so you get the idea. So do feel free to continue that at your own pace for a few more moments, and really notice as you're doing it what is the tissue state here under your fingers, and you can feel free to kind of move them around a little bit to get a clearer sense. But you should start to feel this tissue starting to release and lengthen and become more supple. And So do that for a few more moments, and then and know that you can always rest if you need to. Okay, and then go ahead and uh, pause with the sound, release your hands, and again, just take a moment to really tune in to the experience and avoid indulging the habits of trying to get back to the familiar. So this actually can uh, produce a very profound shift, and many things are possible when we experience a shift. Okay, so it's really nice when we experience a shift in a completely positive sense, if we perceive it in a positive way. However, as many of you know, we don't always perceive it in a positive way because our brains are, many of us, our brains are in the habit of negativity, fear. So our brains oftentimes will interpret any change, any newness as negative. And what that means is it's going to just try and uh, put the appropriate label from its inventory onto the experience. It doesn't really matter whether that's actually accurate or not. As far as the brain is concerned, it just wants to have the label. And then we experience through that label. It's fascinating. So we think there's an objective experience, but there's not. It's entirely subjective. And so our brains can tell us all kinds of things. It can say, this is pain. This is worse than before. So you may experience pleasure, or you may be experiencing what you consider to be discomfort or even marginal pain. But let's review what happened. Okay, so we've had a gentle intention, a healing intention, and we can then trust and know that that is exactly what's happening. And so whatever our perception or our current idea of the experience is, we will have the best results if we are willing to surrender that and just remain present to the actual experience without any intervention. So don't try and get to a comfortable position. Don't shrug your shoulders or roll your head around or do any of the kinds of things that you may be in the habit of doing, trying to get to a comfortable position. Instead, just be present, be restfully still, and surrender, surrender, surrender. Be gentle and loving. Have a loving intention. A loving, healing intention is the most powerful thing, far more powerful than anything else. And if you're willing to do that and keep doing that, you will find that there's a second shift that happens. So the first shift is it's an essential shift, but it's a shift that is not going to be necessarily sustained. But the secondary shift is the shift in which that first shift becomes rooted so that it becomes sustained. So we have to allow for that. We have to choose that. Let the throat be soft. So the simple movement that we just did actually has profound implications for the physicality, because that area of the body, the part of the ear, is prone to congestion and has a lot of connections directly with parts of the body. So this will open the throat, the tongue, the whole head, the forehead, the scalp, the back of the head, the back of the neck and the shoulders, the chest, all of this can be opened up. But we can consciously participate in that, and that will greatly augment the results. So continue to surrender and release and soften, and then feel and notice the sensations. Not that any particular sensation is more desirable or better, but just notice. Do you experience any tingling, any pulsation, any movement, any coldness or heat? And then let's again become aware of the natural breath. And be very curious, be very interested in how satisfying and gentle and pleasurable can the breath become simply through allowing, through presence. Just be very, very present, aware, and just don't indulge the habits so that the exhalation naturally elongates, not because you're forcing it, not because you're trying, not because you're counting, but just because you are aware and you're not interfering with it by turning it around prematurely, which is the habit for most of us. And in fact, you can start to become intimately and directly aware of the connection of the breath and your state. You'll start to notice that as you allow for the natural breath to occur without the unnatural interference of your habits, that naturally and without trying, because the exhalation naturally extends beyond what your habit is, and because you're not holding as much unnecessary tension in the abdomen and chest and throat, that your feeling state becomes smoother, more stable, more enjoyable. You begin to experience more ease. And the inhalation is complete and satisfying without strain. And be aware of the habits of how you move the spine and torso with the breath, and see that it's possible to relax and release those habits so that the spine becomes increasingly supple and aligned, so that it's not flexing and extending so much with the breath. Instead, it remains more stable, not rigid, but simply aligned, upright. And you can start to notice without any effort on your part that there's a natural suppleness and elasticity to the torso that allows for the breath to be satisfying and pleasurable. You'll maybe notice it particularly on the exhalation, just allowing the exhalation to be non-forced. And then we'll begin to conclude our exploration today. And to do so, let's bring our awareness to the heart so that we continue to have awareness of the breath and awareness of the heart, and if possible, also awareness of our connection with the earth simultaneously. And as you inhale, have awareness of the heart, and the heart being illuminated, so that as you gently peer into the heart, you recognize yourself, you recognize your pure intention, your pure heart desire. You don't have to go searching for it. It's just simply there, present. And you recognize it instantly because it's your own true heart desire. It's what you desire for yourself and for this world. Peace, harmony, abundance, truth, love. And it's already present. You already have it. It's already here. You just have to recognize it. It's very, very, very gentle and simple and pure. So on the inhalation, you perceive the heart illuminated, recognize, glimpse this truth. And as you exhale, just the natural exhalation, shine that abundance of love and goodness and harmony as a blessing into this world, beginning with your own body. So from the heart, letting that blessing illuminate and radiate into the inner body, illuminating and healing all of your inner organs, all of the muscles, the bones, the marrow, all of the arteries and veins and capillaries, the lymphatic system, the fascia, the muscles. As you inhale, you peer into the heart gently, allowing the heart to be illuminated so that you can easily see the purity of your true heart desire. And then as you exhale, allow that to radiate through the inner body, outward, through the skin, so that your whole body is bathed in this beautiful healing light. And then allow that to even radiate through the skin into your home, into the space where you are. blessing your home, blessing your loved ones, blessing your entire environment, blessing the plants, the animals, blessing the water, blessing the land. With each inhalation, allow that ceaseless, abundant light of truth to continue to grow in you. And with each exhalation, allow that to shine into the world so that this healing extends through you, as you, and brings healing to all people, all places, all beings. Consciously bless your body, consciously bless your home, consciously bless your neighborhood, consciously bless all of the people, all of the animals, all of the plants, the water, the land, the air. Bless the governments of this earth so that they may truly serve good. Bless this entire earth. Bless all beings everywhere, in all worlds. And then gently become aware again of the body, the physical body, and become aware of the contact of the body with the surface that you're on. And become aware of that contact as the support. Be aware of that support all the way to the core of the earth. Be aware of that support all around you. Be aware of your head, the top of your head, the sides of your head, your tongue, your eyes, your nose, your lips, your chin, the throat, the neck, the shoulders, the arms and hands, the chest, the upper back, the abdomen, the lower back. Be aware of the pelvis, the buttocks, the thighs, the knees, the lower legs, the feet, the toes. Be aware of the whole body. Remember your connection with the earth. Remember that it's a two-way connection. Make offerings of everything that is unmanageable for you and receive stability. Let that be a continuous experience. And gently move the fingers. If you wish, you may rub the palms together and then place the hands over the eyes and cheeks. Consciously choose to relax the face. Release the hands, and when you're ready, you may slowly begin to explore opening the eyes, and do so without disturbing anything so that you can integrate today's experience. So for those who are here live, we'll stay on for the Q&A in a few moments, and I'm going to end the recording of the formal inquiry momentarily. This was a very beautiful and powerful exploration today, and super gentle and grounded. So it's unlikely that it will be overly stimulating for people. Those particular sounds that we made do have a little bit of, not a little bit, they are somewhat stimulating. Okay, so but it's unlikely that, given the context of the whole thing, that should be overly stimulating for anybody. But if anybody does find themselves overly stimulated, please remember the usual suggestions, and please remember it's really important to take responsibility for your own well-being. That's, as I said, self-care and self-love are really important lessons that we all need to learn here on Earth. And many of us are challenged with that. So anything that comes up, there are a couple of things I want to remind you of that will be helpful. The first is, as I said, to take responsibility. So our tendency is to look for many of us, okay? So just look to see if you can recognize this for yourself. If not, don't worry about it. But if you recognize it, it's really helpful to recognize this tendency to look for something to blame, even if that's yourself, right? But blame actually doesn't help. Blame really doesn't help. Forgiveness helps. Forgiveness is healing. So choose to forgive. Choose to forgive unconditionally. Choose to forgive yourself first and foremost. Because if you really start to observe, what you'll very likely notice, anytime there's any kind of negativity or you're perceiving a negative experience, you're blaming, and you're ultimately blaming yourself, even though on the surface you may be blaming situations or people or life. But ultimately, if you really get down to it, you're blaming yourself. So forgiveness is the healing balm. It really will heal. And choose first and foremost to heal yourself by forgiving yourself. Forgive yourself for any mistakes that you think you've made. And then remember that ultimately you're in the right place, the right time, the right people, having the right experience. And so then the question is, what can I learn from this? How can I learn to better forgive myself, to better love myself, to better care for myself? So that's one really important thing. And along with that, another aspect of that same thing, self-love and self-forgiveness, is and responsibility is then, once you forgive yourself, also you ask, what can I learn? How can I learn to better care for myself? And then offer yourself that. It's not, don't put it off until tomorrow. Don't put it off until later today. Take responsibility now to care for yourself now, because nobody needs to suffer. Suffering is not something that we have to endure. Suffering is only an indication that something's off, that we're choosing something that's hurtful to us. It's just an indication that we're not choosing to honor ourselves and our truth. And we can remedy that right now. The healing is possible right now. We do not have to wait. So take responsibility now and get clear in yourself about what you need. First, it's self-forgiveness. Then I would say self-love. So if you get clear within yourself, I forgive myself. And even just having that intention and saying those words is really powerful. I forgive myself. For any mistakes that I perceive I've made, I forgive myself. I know that I can learn from these mistakes so that I don't have to repeat them. Whatever I fear, I'm willing to surrender that and learn the lessons that are in this for me. And then choose self-love. And even just to say, I choose to love myself now, regardless of whatever thoughts I might have, regardless of whatever mistakes I think I might have made. I choose to love myself now, regardless of what opinions I might hold of myself about my worthiness or unworthiness. I choose to love myself now. And then whatever becomes clear to you intuitionally, okay, so things will become clear to you. Intuition is a real sense, it's a real thing. And most of us have not learned, we have not cultivated our intuition. And so we don't recognize it very clearly. But the more we trust it and recognize it, the more clear it becomes for us. And so intuitively, something will arise. This is how to take action in alignment with self-love. Because in this world, we have to take action. It's not, intention is very, very powerful, but in this world, we have to couple that with action. So it's not enough for me just to say, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. If I'm not feeding myself nourishing food, you see, then that's not enough. So I have to take action in alignment with that. So when I affirm the truth, which is I choose to love myself, regardless of my opinions, regardless of my past, I love myself now. Then what arises intuitively from that is a clarity of what action is in alignment with that. And it's often very simple. They're very simple things. The lessons are not complex. We don't need to, our life purpose is not to build the ultimate spaceship or some, really complex thing in that sense. It's not a technological accomplishment. Our life purpose is it's very simple. It's to love ourselves, to forgive ourselves, to care for ourselves. And those lessons are so important. And they're also really simple. They're not surprisingly, they're earthly because we're on earth. So we're on earth to learn those lessons, and we need to learn those lessons or we can't really flourish. So sometimes that intuition is I need to nourish my body. I need to eat well. I need to bless my food. I need to bless my body. I need to be willing just to pause, slow down, allow myself to breathe. I need to take a bath. I need to take that time for myself. Many of us don't take the time for ourselves. I need to take that time. I need to actually take that time. Even if it's just 5 minutes, I need to take 5 minutes really honestly for myself, for self-love and nourishment. I need to have some ritual that is meaningful to me, that allows me to know that I'm loving myself and caring for myself. So whatever that is for you, it doesn't have to be, I give these suggestions, but many of them are essential. Nourishing yourself with good food, very essential. Nourishing yourself with a gentle, satisfying, pleasurable breath, it's essential. Whether you take a bath or a shower, or you put flowers in your bath, or God, whatever, those are choices that you can make. But find rituals that are simple, sustainable, and meaningful for you, that help you to affirm your self-love. And if at first you're not really feeling it, that's okay. Your intention coupled with your follow through with the action, super, super powerful. Don't be concerned about whether you are thinking the right thoughts or having the right experience, because you are, as long as you're staying true to your your real truth, your heart truth. So I hope that covers it all. And lastly, as I often say, just if anybody's in a pinch and you're you're feeling alone and you're struggling, you don't have to reach out, send me an email. It's really important to me that people are not left hanging out in the wind. You're supported, you're cared for, you are important. So if you need to reach out, reach out. Okay. So I'm going to end the recording of the formal inquiry.